Now, darling, let me tell you about a morning in my garden when the world was still quiet, and the sunlight moved so gently across the leaves that it felt almost shy. I was walking between my little pots of succulents, as I always do at the start of the day, listening to the soft hum of the earth waking up. Among them sat a cluster of lithops, the dear little living stones, though I've always thought of them more as quiet companions who prefer to keep their secrets tucked neatly inside those round, split leaves of theirs. They never rush. They never complain. They simply wait for the right moment to speak. That morning, the rain from the night before had left the soil slightly darkened and cool. The air smelled of something fresh and clean, as if the world had been washed and polished just for me. I leaned a little closer to the lithops, admiring their patterns, each one shaped like a tiny pebble painted by a very patient artist. They were glistening under the soft light, as though pleased with themselves. I've always loved how these little plants blend in with the stones around them, as if they're playing a lifelong game of hide and seek. As I bent closer, I heard the faintest sound, a tiny pop, so gentle that I almost wondered if I imagined it. Then another, barely noticeable, like a raindrop tapping on a window from very far away. I watched closely, and to my delight, a few tiny seeds sprang from the dried capsule tucked between the leaves. They scattered lightly over the soil, almost weightless. Such a small motion, so easy to miss, yet full of purpose. For a moment I simply stood there, smiling to myself, amazed that a plant so still, so stone-like, could suddenly show such lively intention. Now here's something curious you may not know, sweetheart. Lithops produce little seed capsules that only open when they come into contact with water. The rain, or even a careful watering, makes the capsule swell and reveal tiny chambers inside. And in that moment, the seeds may leap out, carried by the force of the moisture. It isn't an explosion the way people imagine, nothing loud or frightening. It's nature's soft little catapult, designed to send new life just far enough to find a place of its own. I find it quite clever, really. A quiet plant with a secret that moves only when touched by water. Before I wander too far into my memories, tell me, darling, have you ever seen a plant do something surprising like that? I would love to hear your stories if you wish to share them. Now where was I? Yes, the tiny pop of those seeds. I remember watching them settle on the damp earth, like the softest sprinkle of cinnamon on warm bread. The sun began to rise a little higher, and the moisture around the lithops sparkled faintly, almost as if the plants themselves were glowing with pride. I've always admired how patient they are. Some succulents stretch and reach and perform for the sun, but the lithops prefer discretion. They wait. They conserve. And when the moment is right, they open their chambers and trust the world to carry their children forward. As I watched them that morning, I felt a familiar warmth in my chest, the kind that comes from noticing something small and realizing it isn't small at all. These little seeds held entire futures inside them. Whole generations of living stones, ready to blend into new corners of the earth. There's something comforting about that thought, that life continues quietly, gently, without needing applause. The breeze grew softer as the sun warmed the garden, and the seeds disappeared into the folds of soil, hidden but not lost. I took one last look at the lithops, sitting there with their simple dignity, and I whispered a tiny thank you for the lesson they'd shared. Nature enjoys her little surprises, my dear. Some of them are so subtle that only those who slow down will ever witness them. Thank you for sitting with me today.